Okay, one of the questions is, and it's common in the high school world, is how do you teach high school material when you are homeschooling? I'm not an expert, especially in math. This is the biggest question that we see out there looking at the forums. And it was questions as we started homeschooling and we came into a community of people that they were asking us, being both my wife and I being in the engineering persuasion, if you will. So there's and as you enter homeschooling, especially those parents who may be transitioning out of homeschool, I mean, of a public or private school, and we see this so much. We've seen it a lot anyway, but we see a lot more now because of, I guess, for lack of a better word, mistrust in the system, not the teachers, but the system. So here's three ways to approach teaching math in if you're going to homeschool. And by the way, this is particularly intimidating if you are bringing them out from a public private school environment and you're starting directly into a homeschool environment and you're just like you're showing up, you feel like you're showing up, you have no authority, no knowledge. They've been with these trained teachers for all these years, and it's intimidating. But let's just kind of walk through. And so many of our students, these are the things that they are doing. We want to turn off my alarm. So many of the things that they are doing. The Number one is many parents just let the students learn themselves independently. There's a lot of pros to that. In high school, obviously, if you're heading to college or something, you're going to be independent anyway. So moving them to that is sometimes a really good plan. Some students really work better that way with online courses, like our online courses, but just any online courses. Many of them are self-paced and driven. We have self-directed in the math. We have algebra, geometry, algebra two, a trig, or pre-calculus, and then calculus. And they're step by step. And many parents will just take the course, the video content, the books, the solutions manual, whatever they have, and hand it over to the student and figure it out. And then when they need support, they email us. So we're talking directly to the student. So that's a very popular model, especially with the higher end maths that you see. The second thing that we see people doing is they're learning alongside their student. Collaborative. We will sometimes get questions from the student, sometimes get questions from the parent, and they'll be confused for different reasons. Oftentimes, the students will be debating mom or dad about what's right or wrong. I mean, in a good way, I'm hoping. But that way, people are more involved. And let's face it, many of us who homeschool, we weren't necessarily the most attentive when we were in school. Maybe you were different, but I wasn't. Um, and we probably didn't learn a lot of the things we thought we learned or a lot of the courses we set through. So I see a lot of moms in particular very excited to be learning things that they felt like they never really learned and now they appreciate them. So sometimes that's the reason. Sometimes they just want to be involved. Many times when we're homeschooling, we want to be more involved with our kids and not less involved, like maybe we were if we pulled them out of public or private. But this model will oftentimes build confidence with the student and the parent and kind of gives a chance to discuss some things. So we see a lot of people watching our videos together. They'll tell us they're watching them together. They will now obviously mom or dad's not working the problems probably, but they will be guiding and helping. And frankly, mom or dad is learning, they are learning, or they are relearning the subject themselves because some of them never had it in the first place, or they may have just gotten to a certain point in algebra. And let's face it, when most of us were in high school, we weren't totally plugged in. But the third model, so there's the totally independent, there's the collaborative, and then the other model we see is, the more traditional, the guided teaching, where mom or dad takes the teacher's role. Now, some parents want to teach directly. They feel like it meets their needs. And again, this is the beauty of homeschooling. You get to pick what works for you, your family, your student. And many parents that we find, student A, their son might do one thing and their daughter may do another, because they just have different personalities and different learning styles. So what we see, we do see some of the parents that are actually watching our video. They are engaging with us to make sure they understand a concept, and then they are teaching it. And many of those students are actually teaching, I mean, sorry, many of those parents are actually teaching classes where they're pulling a co-op type thing together, and they've got multiple students in their class. And so they are using our videos. They may or may not be using our videos in class, but the teacher slash parent is using the videos and working with us to prepare. And oftentimes that's a teacher who feels like or a parent who feels like they knew the stuff. They're capable of knowing the stuff. They have time. They have interest. Uh, and many of them maybe have taken it before, but they just want to make sure that they've got a resource there to help them just in case, because that's one of the things we're emailing back and forth and helping people with answers. And the one we always love is the parents coming back to us and saying, "Hey, this is what I taught. This is what I understood. I worked this problem out. I worked it on the board or on paper or whatever. And Johnny or Susie is telling me I was wrong." And sometimes Johnny or Susie is, they're correct, and sometimes not. But a lot of times they're asking us, help me to explain this concept because they just don't get it. And I don't know how to explain it. And that's probably the biggest challenge when you're teaching something, is you've got to be able to explain it to where other people understand it. And hey, that's the beauty. If you're a mom or dad and you feel like you never understood it, having to teach something is the best way to understand it. And kind of a mixed model from these three. So we talked about, the independent learning of the student, collaborative learning with the parent, and then preparing the material where the parent teaches. Um, and the mixed model here is having the student teach it to you, and which is a little bit of a combination of these, but and the reason that you might do that is to, number one, just like I just said, if the student can explain a concept to where it makes sense to you, even if maybe you don't understand the math. And this is a beautiful model if you are not expert at math yourself. Have the student explain it, and they should be able to explain it to you. And when they can explain something to you and you understand it, the person who's really learning is them, because that's the power of learning. If you ever want to learn something, teach it. I can just promise you, the first time I've taught most of the courses I've taught at the university, I did not know them very well. The first time I taught calculus, I really didn't know what calculus was about. And the first time I taught, weird, crazy courses like stochastic processes, which I still can't spell, I didn't know what it was about, didn't know. I remember a faculty member saying, "Hey, will you teach this for me? I can't teach it." And throwing me the book. And I said, "I can't even spell it." He said, "You'll be fine." And I was a new faculty member, and I was fine. I learned how to explain it, and therefore I learned. So it's a great model. So one of these things, and maybe I mentioned three, I kind of added a fourth, independent, collaborative, mom and student together, or mom teaching. And in any of these models, it could be throw in there with the student, have to teach it or teach some of the concepts back to the student, to the parent. So, but in all this, I just want to say there's a mindset shift, and I think a lot of us go into homeschooling And I think we did probably when we started homeschooling, and it was certainly more Leah than it was me. But you feel like you have to know everything. Um, and it's not, somebody was telling me the other day, it's the homeschooling is not about you having all the answers, it's about knowing where to find them. That's true, but you could leave the homeschooling word out. At the university, we have the same, it's the same thing. We don't know everything. I'm sure that's a big shock to all of you. We don't know everything in the courses we teach, but we do have more access to resources. We we and you as a parent probably have the ability to know how to learn something in a way your student hasn't learned it yet, if that makes sense. Um, many many homeschooling parents, many teachers, many faculty members act as facilitators instead of the experts. They're the leaders. That's a leader. And if you think about a leader in the traditional sense, the leaders don't always have the answer. They don't always do the work, but they are leading. And so that's the mind shift that you kind of need to take as when you're doing this, especially in high school. I think I said you kind of need to. That's my opinion, but I think it's helpful to you to do that. So the idea of, hey, let's figure this out together is a great phrase. It's encouraging, it's empowering to them, and maybe you both learn something. So, if you take all this, there's lots of practical tools, and I think most of us know that in the homeschooling world now, there's structured videos like ours that provide explanations, tutorials, practice. But then there's so many other tools that parents and students in math don't take advantage of. AI being one of them, and many of you don't like that. But like ChatGPT is a great tool for assisting in math. Wolfram Alpha, there's some apps out there, but there's some just really high power tools that you don't pay anything for, which is a great price point. And of course, then there's communities, and there's usually in every community, there's experts who are good at the subjects that you're trying to do. So anyway, I just wanted to, answer this question because we see it all the time, and it is, how do I teach this at home? And that's for most of us. And if you're more experienced at the homeschooling, you probably have asked that question once and answered it yourself multiple times. But we oftentimes go back there. And if you are an experienced homeschooler, people are asking that question still, and it's still per forums, per data hits on Google and things like it, it is still the most asked question for people with students who are thinking of homeschooling or are graduating their kids out and they're about to enter into high school. They want to know, how can I do this? So hopefully some things to help you and some things to think about there. Hey, and we would love your feedback, especially there's many of you are experts and have been doing this for years. We'd love to hear what you have to say about it and some of your experiences, and especially how you found what helps for as you're encouraging others that are new coming up in this. All right, we will leave it to there. We will see you next time.